Hey guys, how's it going? And thanks for coming. I'm Nick, and this is Real Life Money, where we talk about real life and money, because schools aren't, so let's get started. So this is another stock market weekly recap video, guys. If you've been following us, welcome back. And if you're new, what we do, we look at the previous week in the stock market, see how it did, go over some popular news stories, look at some stocks, some mutual funds, and see how they did. So let's just dive right into it, guys. For this week, looking pretty strong. The Dow Jones is actually inching closer to the 23,000 mark. So not too bad at all. And moving on over to the S&P 500, the index fund that we have. Index fund, of course, 500 of the largest companies in America. But for the Dow, it was up around 1.5%. And you could see with the S&P, still fairly close at 1.25. There was a little bit of a rally on Monday. Tech continued to rally throughout the week, and we were hitting all-time highs. So all-time highs are good, guys. I enjoyed the week. But on Friday, there was a little bit of on the downside, just because it is a new month. Happy October. But they released job earnings, of course, the first Friday of the month. They released the job earnings, and also oil got hit a little bit on Friday. So let's look at the job numbers real quick. This month, it was down. You could see we lost 33,000 jobs in September last month. And that was mainly because of all the hurricanes that were going on. A bunch hit in like the Gulf of Mexico with Texas, and of course Florida as well. So that definitely took a chunk away from jobs. Now looking over at the unemployment rate, it actually did dip to 4.2%. You could see back in 2008, obviously it peaked, but it has been gradually going down, so that is a good sign. Overall, I wouldn't really worry about it. Of course, for the long term, I'm very optimistic. But it was basically just because the hurricanes don't happen all the time. Of course, they do happen. But it's not like we're in a downward trend of losing jobs. So I'm pretty psyched for the future. And just to show you guys, with the oil drop, I like to look at ExxonMobil just because they're a huge oil company that everyone knows. But you could see, obviously, on Friday there was a bit of a dip. So oil's not really doing too hot this year, guys. So far, year to date, they are down around 10%. But you know what is hot? Boom, Netflix this week. Netflix released that they were actually increasing their main subscription cost. So obviously for the business, that's more money for them. This whole week, they've been just killing it, up over 9%. And year to date, around 60%, guys. Unbelievable. So they are increasing their subscription cost from the $8.99 that they had to $9.99. So a little bit of an increase. I personally think Netflix is kind of overvalued at the moment, so it's not like I'm going out and buying any shares. I mean, it's a great company. Everyone has them. Very popular, so we'll just have to see what happens. So now, guys, let's start getting into some stocks we're looking at. Starting up, of course, with the big old Apple, guys. They closed at 155.30 on Friday. This week, a little bit ups and downs. They're having just phone issues, network problems, service problems. So a lot of bad energy and just hate is around Apple for right now. But they're still holding up. For this week, they were up 0.77%. Just like the whole market was doing very well. And I can't get away from that year to date, guys. Up over 30%. So I also wanted to show you guys the chart for 1 month ago for Apple, since or around the time they started releasing all this new stuff with their new products and all that good stuff out there. They are down since then. Just under 4%. But I definitely see them rebounding. There is a lot of hate surrounding them. So I think for the future, they're going to do very well. Some people could consider this a dip. So if you wanted to get into Apple now, it's not like a bad idea. They're definitely not overvalued at this moment. I don't think they're really undervalued. They're kind of fairly valued. So for the long term, not a bad play. I actually had a dream about Apple last night that they shot up 20% in the $200 range. I'm like, all right, cool. Is it weird that I dream about stocks? Possibly, but we'll see what happens with them. So coming up on the next stock that we're watching, guys, is Disney. They are finally out of the under $100 zone, but struggling to keep it. They closed at just over $100. For this week, they actually did pretty good, up 1.5%, but year to date still down 4%. For the long term, I'm still liking them, I gotta say, just because they're freaking Disney. So I just want to say something with Disney. I just want to put my thoughts out there. I want to make a forecast. When Star Wars comes out, I feel like people are gonna forget about the ESPN numbers, and they're gonna focus on Star Wars, how they're doing so great. So I think it's probably gonna start inching up when the movie comes out. Will I bet on that? Kinda, because I'm invested in Disney. I have been for a couple years now. So definitely for the long term. Moving on to Facebook, guys, looking at the tech industry. This week, they are up around 0.8%. Year to date, still killing it, almost 50% return. Ridiculous. And quickly moving on to our other tech giant, Google, or Alphabet. I don't know if anyone actually calls them Alphabet. I always call them Google, but they are doing very, very well, actually. This week, they're up just over 2%, close at 978.89 year to date, over 26%, guys. Now, one of the main things that happened this week, guys, with Google is that they actually announced an action camera. Basically, the only main action camera company out there is GoPro, so they're actually, people think that this is going to be competition against GoPro. We'll see what happens. The action camera space is basically loaded with GoPros. That's like the main thing, guys. So for Google to go up against them, I wish them luck. I don't see it working out, to be completely honest. But they're putting it out there. We'll see what happens. But that's why I like Google as well. They have a bunch of everything. They have their search engine, of course. Everyone uses them. YouTube. They're in the smartphone market, of course, definitely not a hugely popular one, or the most popular compared to Apple. But they have a lot of eggs in multiple baskets now with the action camera. I think they're going into like automobiles with like automatic driving cars. So yeah. And of course, for you Frappuccino guys out there, Starbucks. Now this week they did pretty good. They closed at 55.17. This week they are up 2.7%, still slightly down for the year, but they did good for this week. Now when I was looking around, guys, I saw some news relating to Starbucks, also with Wendy's and a couple of other restaurants, because they're definitely into renovating and like just updating their restaurants to keep up to speed with society, and mostly millennials, because most millennials go to these places. So these places are definitely like keeping trend with the people out there compared to maybe older delis, family owned type of things. They're staying with it. They're keeping hip. They're keeping up with the people. So the popularity with that is definitely good. They are growing, so for the long term, of course, I'm sticking with them. People need their coffee to function. It's almost scary. I actually had our coffee machine broke down at work, and there was like a panic. There were like 2 emails. There was a bunch of calls all over the announcements, and it was like crazy. I'm not a coffee drinker, so I'm like, oh, coffee machine's down. People are like running back and forth, calling people up to pick up coffee. So I think the trend of coffee is pretty safe. And looking on over at our mutual fund that we like to look at, Fidelity Contra Fund. Of course, they have a bunch of growth stocks, tech companies, and all that good, attractive, popular stuff. But of course, this chart shows the month, but for the week they were up over 1.5%. I think closer to 1.6%. Yeah, 1.6%. But they closed at 123.41. The growth is still with them. So this week was a pretty good week, guys. Not too bad for returns on the stock market. Now relating to that last mutual fund that I usually go over, the small caps. I'm not saying I don't like the investment. I actually have some small caps in like retirement accounts. But it's like I don't know too much on it. I'll still track it. But it's like I kind of just mention it to you guys. It's like, oh, it's up 1%. Then I kind of just shy away from it. So I just wanted to cut it out just to make it a little easier. So as this series evolves with the weekly recap, guys, I want to, if something comes in my mind, I want to change things. Because here's the thing. In most cases, stocks usually don't go crazy week per week. At least like large companies that we like to look at. Apple, they went up 1%. That's nothing crazy. A lot of them are under 1% or stay even. So I want to keep it fresh for you guys. So if I want to put something in that's like that I haven't been doing, something new, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Don't get mad at me if I just cut things out. I want to keep it new, fresh, and at least try to make it exciting for you guys. I'm trying to evolve for you guys. So I know sometimes it's freaking boring or whatever. I'm trying. Some people simply don't care for this stuff. But if you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them down below. Love to hear what you guys have to say. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Real Life Money, where we talk about real life and money. Because not many people do, guys. Thanks so much for watching. And I'll see you in the next one.